90 minutes before the ceremony, everything was fine. The guests were seated, the flowers were set perfectly, the music was softly playing in the background. But there was one chair completely empty, and everyone in that room already knew exactly whose it was. What happened in the next 2 hours is the reason people are still talking about Gwendlyn's wedding weeks later. It wasn't just a delay, it was a statement. And nested right in the middle of all the chaos, there is one small, highly specific detail that almost nobody caught. I'm going to point at it twice before I explain what it actually means. If you catch it, it completely rewrites the narrative of Kody Brown's absence. Before we unpack exactly what went down during those missing 2 hours, you need to impress that like button and subscribe to Sister Wives Crew. We dive deep into the real dynamics of the Brown family, bringing you the exclusive theories, the latest reality show updates, and the social media deep dives you will not find anywhere else. If you want the real story behind the cameras, make sure you are subscribed right now so you never miss an update. Let's set the scene. We are at T-minus 90 minutes. The venue is gorgeous, buzzing with that specific kind of nervous, happy energy that only a wedding can bring. Gwendlyn and Beatrice have planned this day out meticulously. You have to remember the context of the Brown family right now. The fractures are no longer just cracks, they are massive divides. Christine is glowing, surrounded by supportive family members, radiating that post-polygamy freedom. Janelle is right there, solid and grounding as always. The siblings are mingling, laughing, and taking candid videos. Everything is exactly what the day was supposed to be. A celebration of love, untainted by the usual shadow that Kody tends to cast over family gatherings. But the shadow is still there, lingering precisely because of that empty chair. The plan was simple. Kody was supposed to be there early. He was supposed to do the fatherly duties, to show up for Gwendlyn despite all the very public, very bitter fallout with Christine. The seating chart was finalized. The expectations were set, and the cameras were ready to capture a rare moment of family unity. Now, here is a challenge for you, and I am dead serious about this. Somewhere in the next 15 minutes, I am going to show you a detail twice without explaining it. I am just going to mention it in passing as we go through the timeline. If you spot it before I break it down, drop the timestamp in the comments. Not the answer, just the timestamp. I want to see who is actually watching and who has just got this on in the background. Let us see who the real Sister Wives Crew detectives are. We hit T-minus 40 minutes. This is when the first wave of real discomfort washes over the bridal suite. The casual checking of watches turns into frantic, whispered text messages. A few guests are seen glancing over their shoulders toward the entrance. You can feel the shift in the room's atmosphere. Someone mentions Kody is running late. Just running late, they say. Traffic, maybe. Typical excuses. But the tension is palpable because, in this family, lateness is rarely just about time. It is about power. One of the older siblings is pacing near the back of the venue, scrolling through their phone, looking incredibly frustrated. In a brief, candid clip later uploaded and quickly deleted on social media, you can see someone holding a brightly colored Artisan Matcha cup with a very distinct neon pink receipt sticker slapped on the side of it, right as they are furiously typing out a text message to Kody's number. Everyone is trying to keep the energy positive for Gwendlyn, but the whispers are starting. Robin is nowhere to be seen either, which only fuels the anxiety. People are asking, is he actually going to no-show his own daughter's wedding? The clock keeps ticking down. T-minus 30. T-minus 20. The officiant is checking in with Christine. The smiles are getting tighter. T-minus 0. The ceremony has to begin. They cannot wait any longer. The music swells. The guests stand. And Gwendlyn looks absolutely breathtaking. But as she walks down the aisle, the absence is incredibly loud. Let us talk about who sat where, and beside whom, because the seating arrangements at a Brown family event are basically a masterclass in reading between the lines. Christine is in the front row, beaming, but there is a protective barrier of her children around her. Janelle is seated close by, leaning in to whisper something supportive. Mary is positioned a bit further back, observing quietly. But right there, in the designated family of the bride section, is the glaring void. The empty chair is not just an empty chair. It is a physical manifestation of everything that has gone wrong over the last few years. As Gwendlyn and Beatrice exchange their vows, there are tears of joy. But you can see the occasional, involuntary flick of the eyes toward the back of the venue from various siblings. They are waiting for the doors to swing open. They are waiting for the inevitable disruption. Because Kody Brown does not just miss events, he arrives at them on his own terms. The ceremony itself is beautiful, almost defiant in its joy. They are actively choosing to ignore the missing piece of the puzzle. But the internet was not ignoring it. Social media was already starting to buzz. Exclusive theories and deep dives from eagle-eyed fans who were monitoring public Snapchat maps and Instagram stories in the area started piecing together a very different narrative than simply running late. We are talking about a coordinated delay. The Sister Wives reality show audience knows that Kody's timing is always deliberate. Think about every major family gathering in the last 5 seasons. When he feels slighted, when he feels like he is not the absolute center of attention and authority, his physical presence becomes a weapon. He withholds it to punish, and he bestows it to reward. Today, the unspoken fear was that Gwendlyn was being punished. But the guests in that room, watching the couple kiss, and the audience erupt into applause, are trying to push that reality away. They transition from the ceremony to the cocktail hour, and the whispers grow from quiet concerns into loud, open speculation. By the time we hit 60 minutes past the scheduled start time, the absence simply cannot be covered up or excused away anymore. What changes inside the room is fascinating. The initial disappointment morphs into a collective, unspoken decision to just write him out of the narrative of the day. You see siblings who usually would not interact much taking shots together, laughing loudly, almost overcompensating. Christine is fiercely working the room, ensuring that Gwendlyn feels nothing but absolute, unconditional love. But behind the scenes, phones are still buzzing. A cousin is huddled in the corner, showing someone a screen. The narrative being spun by Kody's camp, whenever they finally decide to offer one, is already being preemptively dismantled by the sheer fact that an entire hour has passed since the vows were said. He missed the walk down the aisle. He missed the vows. He missed the first kiss as a married couple. The reception is in full swing. The appetizers are circulating, and the narrative of the perfect wedding day is desperately holding on by a thread, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. The party is moving forward. It's loud, it's vibrant, and for a moment, the tension actually starts to evaporate. The guests have accepted the new reality. Kody isn't coming. The exclusive theories flying across social media are already writing the headlines for tomorrow. Fans are refreshing their feeds, watching background clips posted by friends of the brides, trying to spot any sign of the patriarch. But inside that venue, the siblings have formed a protective emotional wall around Gwendlyn. They are dancing, they are toasting, and they are aggressively celebrating to fill the vacuum. You can see the physical relief on some of their faces. When a toxic element is removed from a room, the air literally gets lighter. For the first hour and 59 minutes of the reception, it was Gwendlyn's day. Unbothered and free from the heavy, suffocating blanket of family politics that usually smothers these events. The speeches are happening, the tears being shed are actually happy ones. Christine is holding court. Not as a sister wife, but as a mother who has successfully navigated her children out of a storm. And then, the atmosphere absolutely shatters. We reach T plus 120 minutes, exactly 2 hours after the ceremony was supposed to start. 2 full hours. Fast forward to July 8th, 2026, just days after the wedding, when a seemingly innocent, shaky cell phone video surfaces online. It's the account that reaches 15,000 plus likes in a matter of minutes. The video isn't even meant to be about Kody. It's a shot of the dance floor, capturing some of the younger kids spinning around. But in the top left corner of the frame, the heavy wooden doors at the back of the venue swing open. And there he is. Kody arrives. The room's reaction in that exact second is something out of a psychological thriller. If you watch the background of that viral clip closely, you can actually see the ripple effect moving through the crowd. The music doesn't stop, but the vibration of the room flatlines. It is a masterclass in nonverbal communication. People stop mid-sentence. Forks are slowly placed down on plates. Janelle, who is visible just at the edge of the frame, physically stiffens. Her posture goes entirely rigid, and she immediately turns her body to angle away from the door. It's an unconscious defense mechanism. The older boys, the ones who have had the most public and painful falling out with Kody, exchange this heavy, knowing look. It's a look that says, "Here we go." The sheer audacity of walking in 2 hours late to your own daughter's wedding, missing the walk down the aisle, missing the vows, missing the defining moments of the day, and doing it with your chest puffed out as if you are the guest of honor finally gracing the peasants with your presence. He doesn't slip in quietly. He doesn't look apologetic. He doesn't immediately pull Gwendlyn aside to tearfully explain that he had an emergency. No. The social media clips that have been heavily scrutinized by the Sister Wives crew community show him pausing at the entrance, doing a sweep of the room, and waiting for people to come to him. It is a calculated entrance. It is a reality TV entrance designed for maximum disruption. And right here, while you are picturing that exact moment, I am going to pause and drop that small thing again. Here is that challenge. Keep your eyes open. In a different clip, uploaded by a guest sitting near the front, you can see that same sibling standing near the edge of the dance floor, holding that brightly colored Artisan Matcha cup with the very distinct neon pink receipt sticker slapped on the side of it. I am not going to explain it yet, but if you see how it fits into this timeline, drop the timestamp in the comments right now. So, Kody is in the room. The dynamic has shifted from joyful celebration to high alert damage control. The exclusive theories we've been discussing on this channel about Kody's need for narrative control are playing out in real time. Because he missed the ceremony, he cannot play the role of the loving father giving his daughter away. That narrative is dead, so he pivots to a new one. The chaotic, highly demanded patriarch whose time is so valuable that just showing up is a gift. He starts making his rounds, but it is incredibly awkward. The interactions are aggressively polite. Nobody is hugging him warmly. They are giving him those stiff, one-armed side hugs. You can see the tension in Gwendlyn's shoulders when he finally approaches her. She handles it with absolute grace, smiling for the cameras that are flashing around them, but the warmth just isn't there. It is a performance, and it's a performance the internet caught on to immediately. The Real News added a recent update regarding this exact reception dynamic, corroborating what the social media sleuths already knew. Eyewitnesses from the catering staff and peripheral guests noted that Kody spent more time talking to the few guests who stroked his ego than he did interacting with the bride. It was as if he was trying to host a completely different party inside Gwendlyn's reception. He wanted to pull focus. And for a while, it worked. The anxiety in the room was entirely focused on him. What is he going to do? Is he going to make a speech? Is he going to cause a scene with Christine? Christine, for her part, executed a flawless strategy of absolute indifference. She didn't glare at him, she didn't hide from him, she simply looked right through him, treating him like a slightly annoying, mildly confusing guest who had wandered into the wrong venue. It was the ultimate power move, and it drove the internet absolutely wild. But to truly understand why this 2-hour delay was so sinister, we have to rewind the clock. We have to look at an earlier observation from this exact same wedding process that, at the time, seemed trivial, but now reads completely differently. Let's jump back to June 23, 2026, 2.5 weeks before the wedding. On June 23rd, the family was in the thick of final preparations. Gwendlyn was posting updates, keeping fans in the loop about the stress and the excitement of tying up loose ends. The family group chats were allegedly going non-stop. On this specific day, a seemingly random piece of digital footprint was left on the internet. A local fan, out running errands, spotted Kody and Robin in a neighboring town. The fan snapped a quick, stealthy photo and posted it to a private reality TV gossip group. At the time, it barely made a blip. It was just a photo of the two of them walking out of a high-end specialty store, looking completely relaxed, completely unbothered, and completely detached from the wedding chaos that the rest of the family was drowning in. When that photo dropped on June 23rd, the caption was just a joke about Kody's hair. Nobody thought twice about it. But when you apply the context of July 8th, when you realize that Kody showed up 2 hours late to the actual wedding day, that June 23rd observation becomes a massive, glaring red flag. It establishes a baseline. It proves that the detachment, the lack of prioritization, and the deliberate distancing from Gwendlyn's milestone were not accidental. It wasn't a last-minute emergency on the day of the wedding that kept him away. It was a prolonged, calculated withdrawal. The social media deep dives into that June 23rd time period revealed that while Christine, Janelle, and the kids were practically working around the clock to make sure Gwendlyn's venue, catering, and decorations were flawless, Kody was completely off the grid regarding family duties. He was making his own schedule. The exclusive theories suggest that he was already laying the groundwork for his absence, subtly testing the waters to see how much he could pull away before someone begged him to come back. But nobody begged him. And that is the crucial piece of the psychological puzzle. In the past, if Kody pulled away, the wives would scramble to appease him. They would cater to his moods to bring him back into the fold. But this new post-polygamy family dynamic doesn't operate like that anymore. When he pulled away on June 23rd, they just let him go. They continued without him. So, as the wedding day approached, Kody realized his usual tactic of withholding his presence wasn't generating the panic he desired. They were going to have a beautiful wedding, whether he was involved in the prep or not. His power was gone. The only card he had left to play to ensure he remained the focal point of the narrative was the element of surprise on the day itself. He couldn't ruin the preparation, so he decided to disrupt the execution. Arriving 2 hours late wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad traffic. It was the only way he could walk into that room and guarantee that every single set of eyes was on him. It was a desperate grab for the control he realized he had lost back on June 23rd. But there is a massive flaw in his plan. A flaw that completely unravels the "I was just running late" excuse. A flaw so small, so seemingly insignificant, that he didn't even realize he had brought the evidence of his own lie right into the venue with him. It's all connected. The empty chair, the June 23rd distancing, the viral 15,000-like entrance, and the one tiny, brightly colored detail that ties the entire conspiracy together. We are getting closer to the truth, and the internet is not going to let this go. Here is where the entire narrative of that day absolutely blows up. Up until this exact moment, the general public, the casual viewers of the show, and even some of the extended family members who were sitting in the back rows of that venue, all believed the same basic storyline. The story was that Kody Brown was just a terrible time manager. The story was that he and Robin got caught in unexpected traffic, or they had a minor emergency at home with the younger kids, or they simply lost track of time. That is the narrative that was passively accepted because it is the easiest one to swallow. It is the excuse that Kody has used for over a decade on television to justify his lack of presence. But the real news added a recent update that completely shatters that convenient little excuse. And it all comes back to that one tiny, easily overlooked detail I asked you to watch out for. It all comes back to the brightly colored Artisan Matcha cup with the highly distinct neon pink receipt sticker. It is time to detonate that detail, so listen to me very closely. I pointed this cup out to you twice. The first time was at T-minus 40 minutes, before the ceremony even started, when one of the older siblings was pacing the floor, furiously texting Kody's number while holding that specific cup. The second time was at T plus 120 minutes, when Kody finally made his grand disruptive entrance, and that same sibling was standing on the edge of the dance floor, still holding it, watching him walk in. If you think that siblings just happen to go on a coffee run in the middle of their sister's wedding prep, you are severely underestimating the detective work of the Sister Wives crew community. Here is the exclusive theory, backed by a mountain of social media footprint evidence that changes absolutely everything. That brightly colored cup did not belong to the sibling. The sibling did not leave the venue to buy it. That specific Artisan Matcha cafe is located over 45 minutes away from the wedding venue, but it happens to be located right around the corner from Kody and Robin's house. The neon pink receipt sticker slapped on the side of it is the shop's mobile order tag. And if you zoom in on the high-resolution, uncropped versions of the candid photos that circulated on private forums, you can actually make out the large black print on that neon pink sticker. It has a timestamp printed on it, and it has a name printed on it. The name is Kody. But here is the devastating twist. The sibling was holding that cup at T-minus 40 minutes inside the bridal suite. How did a cup ordered by Kody from a shop near Kody's house end up in the hands of a frustrated sibling inside the venue 40 minutes before Gwendlyn walked down the aisle? Because Kody brought it there. Let that sink in. Let the absolute gravity of that manipulation wash over you. Kody Brown was not late. He was not stuck in traffic. He did not have a family emergency. At T-minus 45 minutes, Kody Brown physically drove his vehicle into the parking lot of Gwendlyn's wedding venue. He was on the premises. He was on time. The sibling, who had stepped out to get some air or grab something from a car, intercepted him in the parking lot. Kody rolled down his window, handed the sibling the Artisan Matcha cup he had picked up on the way, exchanged a few brief words, rolled his window back up, and then he put his car in reverse and drove away. He drove away. He was right there, outside the doors of his daughter's wedding, and he made the conscious, calculated, deliberate choice to leave the property. When you reevaluate the T-minus 40 timeline with this new piece of information, the entire emotional landscape of the room makes sense. When we saw that sibling furiously typing out a text message to Kody's number while holding the cup, they were not asking him for his ETA. They were not checking to see if he was lost. They were texting him asking, "What are you doing? Where are you going? The ceremony starts in 40 minutes. Why did you just drive away?" This is the exact reason why the tension in the room was so thick, so palpable, and so suffocating. It was not the anxiety of waiting for someone who was running late. It was the psychological trauma of realizing that your father is actively choosing to play a power game on one of the most important days of your life. The older kids knew. Christine knew. They were keeping it quiet to protect Gwendlyn from the immediate heartbreak. But the inner circle of that family was carrying the heavy, toxic secret that Kody had literally been in the parking lot and decided that his ego was more important than his daughter's vows. Why would he do it? Why would he show up, make sure a sibling saw him, hand over a physical prop to prove he was there, and then vanish for 2 hours? Because this is the anatomy of a narcissistic discard. We talk about this dynamic constantly on this channel when we analyze the reality show footage. Kody arrived in the parking lot, and he realized he was just going to be a guest. He realized that Christine was the matriarch of the hour. He realized that Gwendlyn was surrounded by a massive support system that did not rely on his approval, his money, or his patriarchal blessing. The entire June 23rd distancing strategy had failed. They were perfectly happy without him. If he walked into that venue on time, he would just blend into the crowd. He would have to sit quietly in his chair, watch Christine beam with pride, and accept a secondary role. For a man whose entire reality TV persona is built on absolute authority and being the center of his family's universe, blending in is a fate worse than death. So, he created a crisis. He handed off the cup to prove, "Look, I am capable of being here on time." And then he left, knowing that his absence would suck all the oxygen out of the room. He knew that for the next 2 hours, people would be whispering about him. He knew they would be looking at the doors for him. He knew that even if he wasn't in the room, he would still be the main character of the day. The 2-hour delay was an artificial construct designed entirely to punish the family for being happy without him, and to guarantee that when he finally did return, the spotlight would violently shift back to his face. And that brings us back to T plus 120 minutes. The grand entrance. When the heavy wooden doors swing open and he finally struts onto the dance floor, doing his little scan of the room, expecting people to be relieved or intimidated. He expects the prodigal father treatment. But instead, he gets a wall of ice. And right there, on the edge of the dance floor, stands the sibling, still holding that brightly colored cup with the neon pink sticker. The sibling does not say a word to him in that viral clip. They do not have to. The cup says it all. Holding that cup in Kody's line of sight as he walks in is the ultimate silent defiance. It is a visual confirmation that says, "We know. You aren't fooling anyone. You aren't the chaotic, busy patriarch who finally found the time for us. You are the man who sat in the parking lot and drove away. We have the receipt." Literally. This is why the real news added in the recent update regarding the reception is so crucial to understanding the new Brown family dynamic. Kody thought his 2-hour delay would break them. He thought it would ruin the mood and force everyone to cater to him the second he arrived. But instead, it backfired spectacularly. Because he didn't realize that in those 2 hours he was gone, the family didn't fall apart. They bonded. They rallied. They proved to themselves and to Gwendlyn that the only thing Kody's absence actually brings to their lives is peace. By the time he walked in, trying to reclaim his throne, the kingdom had already moved on. Christine's absolute, unwavering indifference toward him wasn't an act. She genuinely did not care anymore. He had played his final, most dramatic card, and it landed completely flat on the floor. Gwendlyn won that day. She won it because she refused to let his games rewrite the joy of her marriage. The exclusive theories surrounding this wedding have tried to paint it as a tragic day for her, but the reality, documented in the subtle background details of these social media posts, is that it was a day of absolute liberation. Kody wrote his own legacy that afternoon. He cemented his role not as a father, but as a disruptive guest in his own children's lives. And he left behind the digital footprint to prove it, right down to the neon pink sticker on a cup of Artisan Matcha. Scroll the comments. If somebody beat you to the timestamp, they earned it. If you found it early and said nothing, go put it down now, even late. I'm pinning the earliest correct one at the top of this video for the rest of the week.